Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Wanted to talk about the direction of prayer, and we might have mentioned it briefly, but let's officially cover the topic of prayer. And then you might be wondering what Sutrah is, so I wanted to combine these topics of Qiblah and Sutrah, and what do they mean. So again, don't worry about the Arabic terminology, but the Qiblah is the direction of the prayer, and anytime you go to a mosque, so you will have, let's say, this is a bird's eye view of a mosque, and then these are the rows where people will stand, right? And this is where the imam will stand and everybody's behind him. This direction right here is what you would call we're facing the qibla. That's the direction. Now, if you keep on going straight, in this direction of qibla for a very, very long time, eventually where you should be ending towards is the Kaaba. And Kaaba is, in one of the other videos I've shown you, the holy mosque, the grand mosque in Saudi Arabia. So Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he grew up in the city called Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia. And in there, there's a mosque called Masjid. Masjid is the English of mosque, or Masjid is the Arabic of mosque. So Masjid al Haram, that's the main mosque. And in that mosque, and this is the exceptional mosque, there's no other mosque out there which will have something like this, but this is the main grand mosque. So always remember that this is the grand mosque. The most holiest site in the eyes of Muslims in the Islamic world is the most holiest site. And in there, so the mosque is basically, you can say that there's a box in the middle, okay, which is called the Kaaba, and people basically are facing around it. So you got people all around Kaaba. Then there's another row right behind it, and then another row. And this circle keeps on getting bigger and bigger, right? A person who's praying, and now this could be all the way in, let's say, India, right? The circle keeps on getting bigger and bigger. And the person who's praying in a mosque in India, right here, right, would be facing towards the Qibla, So they'll have to construct the mosque in a way that they're facing the Masjid al-Haram, the Kaaba, in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. So you could be in India, and you could be in, let's say, Canada or US over here. US, Canada. And you would have to, for the most part, face northeast. So your mosques are going to be, let me use another color. Your mosques are going to be basically facing this way. And for the most part in US and Canada, northeast is the Qibla. And all over the world there's differences, but because depending on where they are compared to the Kaaba or Saudi Arabia and which direction they are. So whenever it's time for you to pray, you have to make sure that you find which way is the Qibla is, which way the Kaaba is, and that is what your direction of the prayer is going to be. So and for the most part, the mosques in America, you will see, let's say this is north, south, east, west, and you have a mosque. For the most part, they would be constructing it. If it was main construction, normal buildings will be simply straight, facing north, south, east, west. But the construction of the mosque will be, diagonal, so it is facing towards the Kaaba. What if you had a mosque, let's say you bought a church, and the church of course was not planned that, okay, they're gonna end up buying it, and Muslims are gonna buy a church and they're gonna convert that into a mosque. Now what do you do? So a church will be something like this. We know northeast is this way and this is the Qibla. What they will do is when they are converting the mosque into or church into a mosque, they would basically put the carpet this way. So a lot of times you'll go to a mosque and you'll say, why are the rows slanted like this? Why couldn't they just make them straight? It's because the goal is to make sure that you are facing towards the Qibla. So that's all you got to know about the Qibla. There's history behind it as well, which we can get into in these next 5-6 minutes that we have. I wanted to cover the topic of Sutrah, but the key is whenever we talked about different conditions of Salah. We talked about the purification, and we've already talked about the dress of a worshiper, and what a call of prayer is, different things. This is one of the most important aspect of prayer. Otherwise, your prayer is not going to get accepted. You have to make sure that you are facing towards the Qibla. Timing is important when you're about to pray. Purification, everything, and the direction is definitely important, and that's what we'll be covering right now. So make sure that whenever it's time for you to pray, you figure out. And again, there's apps that can help you out. You can talk to people. It doesn't have to be 100% exact, because you'll never be 100% exact. You're going to miss it, if you keep on. But the key is northeast is the key in U.S., Canada. Other countries might have something else, but you want to make sure that you are directionally towards the Kaaba. You're facing yourself directionally, not 100%, but overall, it's a symbolic gesture that you're showing that yes, it's a unity. Imagine millions of people around the world 5 times a day are praying, and they're all praying towards one direction, showing the unity amongst the Muslims. And of course, there's history behind the commandment of the Qibla, which you will find out later on in your Islamic studies. But for now, know that when it's time for you to pray, you have to face the Qibla, or the Kaaba, which is in the mosque of Masjid al-Haram, which is in the city of Mecca, country of Saudi Arabia. So now that we have Qibla covered, what is Sutrah? What is Sutrah? It is basically a symbolic barrier. Symbolic barrier between you and the world when you're about to pray. What do I mean by that? Now, let's say you have, again, this is a bird's eye view, aerial view. This is the place where you're going to be praying. Here's you, standing, and you're going to be bowing down over here. Now, you got to make sure that, let's say your head touches this part right here, okay, this off the ground. Just a little bit, make sure you have just in the hadith, or the saying, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says you should, just for the enough room between for a sheep to pass through. Okay, so keeping that in mind, you have to make sure that you have a barrier in front of you. So if somebody, let's say it's you're praying over here, and somebody wants to walk by, they'll say, oh, there's a sutra right here, a barrier, a symbolic barrier, which I'll talk about, what it can be, and they will turn around and go another way, or maybe over here. The key is you don't want somebody to be passing in front of you while you're praying, because they will lose concentration. You're letting people know that you are praying. Now, Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, sometimes would use his camel, right? You can use your car if you want, right? Of course, unless you have a camel, if you're traveling, he would use a saddle, right? Something in front of you, or a chair, right? Something in front of you, a pillar. These are all considered sutras. Now, if you're at a mosque, here's your mosque, and then you have the imam standing at the front, and you will be praying in congregation, rows after rows. You don't need a sutra, because there's people in front of you. It's time for prayer, and everybody knows not to cross the people or rows of people who are praying. And of course, you have a wall in front of you, the mosque wall, that can be acting as a sutra. But the key is have something in front of you. That's all what we can say about sutra, is, to sum it up, is have something symbolic, of course, something that's apparent, that's not like a little dot or a little pebble in front of you, but have something visible in front. Why? So people know that you're praying, and they don't cross you. So, and in fact, it is a sin to cross in front of person who is praying. Don't do that. Why? Because it can lose their concentration. Don't be crossing in front of a person who is praying. So key is, when you're about to pray, make sure that your direction is towards the Kaaba. You have something in front of you, a chair or just behind a wall or so, where people don't. Or if you're traveling, use your car or camel if you have one, and make sure people are not crossing in front of you, because it will lose your concentration. And if somebody does try to cross you, just put your hand in front of them. Just to let them know, hey, you know what, you are praying. So I'm talking while you're standing, and if somebody tries to cross you and they maybe don't have an idea that you're praying, then you should just put your hand out and indicate them. You're not allowed to talk while you're praying, but indicate that it is time for you to pray. So, and again, when you're praying congregational prayer, it's not important, because the symbol is, hey, everybody standing in rows, you must be praying, so people know that these people are praying, and they're not going to cross your path, cross in front of you. But again, any type of item, you can pray behind a pillar or a wall, have a chair in front of you, but try your best to keep something in front of you so people do not cross you while you're praying. And if you are somebody who's not praying and you see somebody who's praying, make sure that you do not pass them. Don't go in front of them while they're praying. And a person who's praying notices that somebody's about to cross cross in front of them while they're praying, then they can just put their hand out in order to stop them and kind of indicate them that, hey, I'm praying, do not disturb me. So that's it. This is a quick lesson on what Qiblah is and what a Sutrah is, a symbolic barrier, and the direction where a person should be praying towards.